So what's up, y'all? Have you guys ever been told not everything needs to be said? I've most certainly been told that multiple times throughout my life, and especially as a young child, to the point where I almost believed it. And for years, I've held my tongue, scared of being too much, scared of making people uncomfortable, scared of saying something that would make my aunties and my family start fanning themselves in church like I just cussed in the sanctuary. But then I realized something. None of that was true because some things do need to be said. Welcome to It Needs to Be Said, the podcast where we break cycles, challenge narratives, and say the things most people are too scared to say because somebody's got to do it. I'm Key, a melanated woman, a mother, a healer, a nurse leader, a COO, a professional, I would say actually a certified truth teller. And I know how power works and how systems operate. And if there's one thing that I've learned, is that people are way too comfortable believing things just because they've been told to. We let social media think for us. We let news headlines tell us what to be mad about. We let fear keep us from asking the real questions. And for me, that's the problem. Because when we don't question the world around us, we end up blindly following systems, ideas, thoughts, and things that were never designed to serve us in the first place. So on this podcast, we're pulling back the curtain. No topic is off limits. We're talking about health, politics, race, culture, spirituality, power, and religion. All of it, anything. And today we're diving into a topic that had folks foaming at the mouth. RFK Jr., black immune systems, and whether people need to calm the hell down and think before they type. So boom, let's get into it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. goes up in front of Congress and says something that has people ready to throw tomatoes, right? He suggested that black people, I really don't like that term. Let's use melanated people. Melanated people might need a different vaccine schedule than white. I don't like that either. Let's use non-melanated people. The non-melanated people because our immune systems are different. Now, me being me, having a background in healthcare, and me being somebody who thinks on their own, I didn't react right away. I saw the post on Instagram and I actually made a comment under it. What I said was, I need to hear his full statement before I comment because there's truth in what he said. And oh my God, you would have thought that I said that they need to inject us with something different the way the comments was coming at me. When I tell you they were ready to throw me into the fire, but I'm a fire sign. I live in the fire, guys. So I got comments that were like, there's no scientific proof to what we said. Even if it's true, it's dangerous. You can't trust them. You falling for the trap. People was calling me dumb. Like it was just it was too much. And honestly, I get it. I get it. The knee-jerk reaction makes sense when you look at the history of melanated people in America, especially with our health. Because melanated people have been manipulated, lied to, and used as medical experiments in this country. So we could give some examples. Tuskegee, it happened. Henrietta Lacks, it happened. Enforced sterilization of our women, it happened. So when someone, especially a non-melanated person, speaks about our health, our first instinct is to protect ourselves. And I totally get that. But here's my question. At what point does our trauma keep us from seeing the truth? So let me be clear about something with me. Let's break this all down because people were coming at me like I was making up things. So let's start with facts. Certain things I don't need science to tell me about. Certain things I don't need the news to tell me about. Certain things I don't need a provider or a doctor to tell me. I don't give a damn what the CDC say. I don't care what the news say. I don't need a so-called expert to tell me what I can see and what I can feel for myself. I am highly intuitive. I'm damn near psychic. and I'm totally tapped in tune with my body and the world around me. So some people act like if it's not a published study, it can't be real. But just a second, let's use some common sense, right? If my melanated self, can go outside in the sun and I can tolerate it longer without getting burnt than someone else, let's be more clear, than a non-melanated person, then that tells me we are not the same, okay? I don't need a scientist in a lab coat to break that down for me. I can look at nature and how things function naturally and see the truth. All right, so boom. This ties directly into what I'm saying, right? Because y'all know I stay watching how people react online. So if our skin reacts differently in the sun, why can't the way medicine affects our bodies not be the same as well? I'm just saying, why is that so hard to believe? What he said was, and I believe he was referring to the MMR vaccine. He didn't say we needed a different one. He said we may need different scheduling or less of the antigens because our immune system is stronger, right? I can even take it to plants. The orchid family has over 28,000 species of orchids, okay? And every one of them has different care requirements. Some need more sun, some need less water, some can't survive in certain climates. So tell me, if plants can have different biological needs, why can't we as humans? That's all I'm saying, guys. I just want everybody to really think about this. And I'm not saying, understand, I'm not saying don't question what he's saying. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is do the research. I don't want people to get stuck and get caught in that emotional roller coaster that the news and social media puts you in. I want people to ask more questions and look deeper instead of shutting it down. Because I feel like somewhere along the lines, we got trained to believe that if science hasn't signed off on it, it can't be true. Even when we can see it with our own eyes, okay? So I don't care how many doctors tell me we're all the same. I'm still going to stick with what I know to be truth. And there's nothing wrong with that. Moving along, since we already shaking tables, let me talk about something else, right? So the other day, I was in my sewing class. And yes, I sew because that's something I always wanted to learn how to do. Anyway, we're all in the class and we're just vibing. And somebody in the class said that they were boycotting, I forgot which store it was, but they were boycotting a store because they pulled back the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program, DEI. So my natural instinct was to ask, who told you that? No, I said, why are you doing that? And they said, because they don't want to hire us. I said, oh, who told you that? And they said, my friend. I said, so what's the full information on it? Mind you, I know the information, but I'm just asking questions because I just want to see. Oh, they were like, I don't know. Let me call them. So they called their friend on speakerphone. So I'm like, hi. I was like, I just wanted more information on the DEI in the store. She's like, yeah, don't shop there because they don't want to hire us. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, what's the explanation and the rationale behind this? Oh, they don't want to hire black people. They don't want to do this and blah, 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 blah. So we had a whole conversation on right in the middle of the class. And I was seeing that they really didn't fact check anything. They were just going what the news or things on social media was telling them. And by the end of the convo, I will say the entire class knew what DEI actually was. And I think the person hung up a little frustrated because they really wasn't trying to hear what I was trying to say. And I was trying to just give them all of the information. So who's really benefiting from DEI? So social media had people thinking that rolling back DEI meant that they were coming for us. But the truth, we weren't the primary group of people that were benefiting from DEI. So if you fact check, you can see the biggest winners from DEI were non-melanated women and people with disabilities. So that includes the disabilities people, includes veterans too. So when people started, when companies started cutting DEI, it wasn't some targeted attack. They were just pulling back programs that weren't really doing much for people in the first place. So I'll put that into perspective. I worked at a place where they had DEI. And because of DEI, they had to hire disabled people, okay? But they had to hire them in the housekeeping department, which to me made no type of sense. So you would have a disabled person, sometimes they can't move their arms, sometimes they can't walk properly, and they're cleaning up the facility. Does that make any sense to y'all? So they had to hire that person to fill in that gap over somebody who could fully complete the job. So that's just some perspective for y'all on how DEI works, okay? So my point is, I don't want any of you guys to outsource your brains. You know, let's be too real. Too many people are just following whatever's trending. A headline goes viral, people share it without reading the article. A celebrity makes a statement, people take sides without fact checking. A politician says something, people get mad without asking why. And at this point, I feel like people aren't thinking anymore. They're just reacting. And this is crazy and insane to me to watch, especially during times like this. This is not the time you want to be easily manipulated. You know, you don't want to be easily, played with, because if we stay emotional, we stay distracted. If we stay distracted, we're not strategizing. And if we're not strategizing, we're not even actually able to change anything for us. So my goal is just to inform people, listen, let's stop reacting. Let's start thinking. And stop letting fear and trauma control you. Use common sense, guys. Like, put two and two together. Ask questions. Ask questions. I have a question. How many of you guys' thoughts are actually yours? That's what I want to know, because social media can have you thinking that just from my observation, that these are your thoughts. So I also have a challenge, guys. I think we should all think of something that you've always believed just because you were told. And that can come from your mother. Most likely it will come from your family. Like, you always believed it because this is what you were told to do. And question it. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me thinking this way? Also, the next time you hear a headline, please pause, and ask yourself, who is controlling this narrative? What's the full context? Who benefits if I react emotionally? Third thing I want everybody to practice, please recognize your trauma triggers. We all have to recognize what our triggers are. And I'll be going into this into later episodes, guys. But usually if you're reacting bad to something, or you're reacting negatively to something, or you're hyper aware of something, it's usually a trauma caused by something else that has never been cleared up. So this is how you start healing yourself from traumas. Why? Because traumas cause roadblocks, and we don't want any blocks in our road. We want clear paths, clear highways. Roadblocks meaning, and it'll show up in different ways in your life. It may be you trying to excel and get a different job. You trying to start a business. You trying to get a mate. You don't want any type of blocks for that. And your traumas, your childhood traumas, your adult traumas, your adolescent traumas show up in many aspects and areas in your life, and you don't even realize it. So if this podcast made you immediately defensive or scared, ask yourself, is this fear coming from experience, or is it coming from programming? That's a great question. This ain't just a podcast, y'all. This is a whole movement. Now I need to hear from you guys. head over to my latest IG post, which I'll be posting this podcast on it's going to be on YouTube and it's going to be on Instagram. It needs to be said with the number 2. And whatever you guys want to comment, I'm so happy. I want to hear y'all. Don't forget, what's one belief you never questioned until now. Put it up there. And remember, some things just need to be said. It was real. Thank you guys.